Welcome to Growing Up Catholic Session 3. This lesson will focus on how the Bible and Jesus teach us to live. On the first page, I learn about the rules of love. You will introduce the idea that it is from the Bible and the Church that we learn how to do what is good and avoid evil. You will be explaining to your child that the Bible is the story of God's love for us. The entire Bible leads us up to Jesus. Jesus is God's Son. He's the way, the truth, and the light. Be sure to add that God is still speaking to us through the Church, which helps us understand how we apply the teachings in the Bible to our life today. When the Church makes a law or rule, it's giving a rule of love. It is helping us live as a friend of Jesus, a child of God. Emphasize that God teaches us to love God above all things, to love others as ourselves, and to be sorry for our sins when we do the wrong thing. Remember, Growing Up Catholic parent coaching tips are available to assist you with each lesson. On page 2, the prayer celebration, you will lead your child through this prayer. Encourage your child to read the prayer along with you, beginning with the sign of the cross. In the Bible passage, Jesus tells us what is the greatest commandment. Ask your child to tell you what is the great commandment in his own words. Emphasize that we are to love God above everything and also love other people. Sometimes we don't do this, but Jesus helps us. He gives us courage and strength to love like He asks us to do. After reading the Bible passage, give your child time to think about the following questions. How will you promise Jesus to love more? What will you promise Him? If they need some coaching, give examples such as helping my parents do my chores without complaining, and so on. After you discuss his or her responses, give your child a piece of paper to write his responses to the questions. Help your child understand that we don't break our promises. On page 3, God Rules of Love, you will lead your child through the 10 Commandments. We want your child to understand that the rules in the Bible and the Church are not to make our lives harder, but are rules of love. Ask your child about your family rules. Who makes the family rules? Why do we have them? For this activity, your child will draw a line from the commandment on the left side to what it means on the right side. This is a fairly complex activity. I suggest that you use the key provided for you on the parent coaching page. Upon completing this activity, you may wish to ask your child to give an example from his life for some of the commandments. Help your child see that these commandments are effective in their lives now, even at this young age. They provide a foundation for us as we grow up Catholic. Explain the 10 Commandments are all contained in one teaching of Jesus, the Great Commandment, to love God with our whole self and to love our neighbors as ourselves. When your child seems ready, introduce page 4, Meeting Jesus in the Bible. Let your child know that you will read a simplified version of the Gospel of the Good Samaritan. When you finish reading the Gospel, ask your child to retell the story in his or her own words. This story introduces the idea that sin hurts our relationships with others. Explain that sin is not always when you do something wrong, but when we sometimes fail to do what is right. Jesus teaches us to go beyond the 10 Commandments and really love each other. Ask your child to think about how this story is repeated in his own life from time to time. Ask how you can be a good neighbor to someone. You will find helpful suggestions in the parents' coaching tips, but you can strengthen this activity with your own stories. As you already know, the coloring page is an optional activity. This is a good time to give your child a break if you feel he needs a snack or stretching time. Your child may wish to color this later in the week. The activity on page 6 is designed to learn the Beatitudes. Explain to your child that Beatitudes are Jesus' teachings. It is important that you use the Bible passage in Matthew to help your child complete each Beatitude. I suggest you work together to complete this activity. Circle the correct word to complete each of the 8 Beatitudes. Make sure your child understands each word of the passage. It's a good idea to refer to the parents' teaching tips where you will find definitions for some of the terms. On page 7, we are introducing a part of the rite of reconciliation. In this lesson, your child will learn about confessing our sins, the priest's response, and saying the act of contrition. Your child will learn about what it means to say aloud the sins which he or she has committed. Assure your child that they can trust the priest to hear them and help them. Ask your child what he or she knows about priests. It's important to stress that in reconciliation, the priest represents both Jesus and the church community. Explain that God forgives us, and the priest helps us know this and celebrate it. We need to tell our sins and receive forgiveness. You will not need to spend too much time on the act of contrition, as it will be reintroduced in the next session. However, I recommend that you practice it several times with your child. The homework on page 8 is essential this coming week. It's designed to help your child prepare for his examination of conscience. There are 2 important activities. The examination of conscience for children is based on the Lord's Prayer, which can be found on the last page of the parent's lesson plan. Explain that the name of the Lord's Prayer and the Our Father refer to the same prayer. If your child has not yet memorized it, this is a great time to do so. I recommend teaching the Our Father line by line, as in this material, and asking them the questions provided. They can write or draw their answers on a separate paper. Be sure to give plenty of time for this activity. You could do this lesson in 2 or 3 sessions during the week. I also think you should use the simpler version of the act of contrition found on your child's homework page. It is more understandable to a 7 or 8-year-old child and is easier to memorize. Thank you for taking the time to guide your child to the sacrament of reconciliation. By guiding your child using the Growing Up Catholic website and coaching resources, you will grow in your own faith. This process will change your life and last forever. God bless you.